a cinema shogun here, and I just wasted like 11 or 12 minutes of my life watching half an episode of Velma. I can't even sit here and begin to lie to you all or pretend as if I watched the whole episode. I could not make it through the entire episode. It got to the point where I was actively looking and searching for chores to do in my house instead of paying attention to the television, because what I saw was a totally unentertaining piece of garbage that is in no way, shape, or form really related with Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo's not in the show. None of the characters are the characters that you've grown to love. It's a complete and utter disaster. Now, just to give you a little bit of a backstory about myself, I am not this super critical person. Sometimes I like mindless content that I could put on in the background while I do other things around my house. And this is not even a show that I would do that with. In fact, I don't know why anyone would like this show. But if you do like this show, it's not because you like Scooby-Doo. It's because you like whatever choices they made in this show. And in all honesty, there's no reason why this had to be a Velma show. There's no reason why it has to be tied to Scooby-Doo at all. Scooby-Doo isn't even in it. And it's another classic example of when they say, oh, this is going to be a reimagining. And then they basically make something unrecognizable and then they tie it to a popular IP so people will watch it. This could have been something totally on its own. It still would have failed, but at least it wouldn't have tarnished the name of Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is often overlooked, but when you think about it, Scooby-Doo is like a pillar of American pop culture. I cannot think of a time without Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo never goes away. Scooby-Doo always maintains some sort of cultural relevance. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but there's always a different iteration of Scooby-Doo on television, as well as reruns of the old shows that kids still enjoy to this day. I personally have never seen an iteration of Scooby-Doo that I did not like. Now, I know there's been a few that I haven't tuned into, and I'm sure there's been some misses. But I can tell you now, I've watched generations of Scooby-Doo, dating back to the first episode ever made, all the way to like a recent television movie that they released a few years ago. And it was all pretty consistent. It was all entertaining. And it's really an easy formula. It's hard to mess up Scooby-Doo. That's why no matter what, there's always a new Scooby-Doo series coming out. And when there's not a new series out, there's a new straight-to-DVD movie, a straight-to-streaming service movie. Kids are still going to elementary school with Scooby-Doo lunchboxes. Scooby-Doo is something that is so easy to pull off. The characters are well known. They're likable. You already know what each character is like. They're recognizable. And the show has this formula that has worked over and over and over again. It is almost impossible to mess it up. In fact, in order to mess Scooby-Doo up, you got to actively try to mess it up. I think you could take a first grader and put them in a room with a crayon and a piece of paper, and they will come out with a script for a Scooby-Doo episode that would totally work. There's really not much to it. Oh, here's someone, it may be a ghost, it may be some paranormal activity. No, it turns out just to be a gruntled worker for this theme park. We'll take the mask off, you meddling kids, on to the next episode. But no. Of course, they had to ruin this. And I'm sorry if people find this hard to understand or if people don't get where I'm coming from with this, but not every cartoon, not every show we grew up with needs an adult version. Okay? Let it go. If you enjoy Scooby-Doo, enjoy Scooby-Doo for what it is. It doesn't need to have an adult grown-up version for adult audiences. We don't need a Scooby-Doo for adult audiences. We don't. Now, there's a fine line that you could balance on where it could be family friendly and then you throw some things in there for adults to pick up on. You know, growing up when I was a kid, I never knew that Shaggy and Scooby were stoners or that Shaggy was a stoner. When I got older, I enjoyed watching the old episodes again because it was funny, like realizing, oh, Shaggy was stoned out of his mind the whole time. I don't need adult jokes thrown at me about Shaggy being a stoner. The funny part about Shaggy being a stoner is it was something that was insinuated, kinda, if you read into it, but it's never something that was thrown in your face. You know, the jokes with how the team split up and stuff, those are things that you could look into as an adult, but when they throw this stuff in your face, it's unneeded. And as far as Velma goes in this TV show, it's nothing but a self-insert. Shaggy's not really Shaggy. I mean, Fred is like the laughingstock of the show. Fred only exists for them to take out their frustrations that they have with white people. It's just total and utter garbage. And it blows my mind every day that they find ways to mess this stuff up. Now, as I just said, we don't need an adult Scooby-Doo. But if we got one, I could think of 1,000 ways to do it better than this. For one, we can include Scooby-Doo. I really wonder, like, what and who is their target audience? Who is their target audience? It's got to be like some rainbow-haired art school, super freaking woke activist or something. I don't think even they like this show. There's nothing really enjoyable about it. In fact, within the few minutes that I did tune into, they already were taking jabs at their own audience. It's almost as if these days they put out shows and they preach to you in the shows and they take shots at you in the show. Why? Why do you feel the need to alienate your audience? You already cut out most of your audience when you made a Velma show for adults. So now you've cut out the family-friendly aspect. But then you make a show for adults that even adults do not want. So what is your freaking target audience? It's almost as if they make these shows just to make us miserable. But hell, at the end of the day, you're giving me content. I could sit here for weeks and make fun of this show. But it's like, when it comes to Velma, I was trying to give you all a little bit of a backstory about myself before I started going off on my rant earlier. I like crappy movies and stuff. I'm the guy that, hey, instead of necessarily always watching an Oscar winner, let's pick out this crazy looking cheesy movie and let's laugh at it and make fun of it. I like that. This isn't even fun to make fun of. If this show was fun to make fun of, I would have sat through the whole thing and we would have made fun of every episode, but it's not even fun to make fun of. It's just so exhausting. Like, it's exhausting even knowing that this thing exists. And I would honestly, if you're curious, it's not even worth it. If you're curious to see how bad it is, it's not even worth it. All of the jokes fall flat. It's incredibly bland. And it is pointless. It is utterly pointless. And it does nothing but tarnish the legacy of Scooby-Doo. And that's what a lot of these new TV shows and movies are doing. You're coming out, you're flopping, no one's watching it, and in the process, you're damaging the IP. You're damaging these properties. You are making people no longer even be interested in the future of these properties. For the first time in the history, since Scooby-Doo was created, I think people now no longer even want to hear about the next Scooby-Doo project because of this one. Could it get any worse? Probably not. Probably not. But I would say do yourself a favor and don't watch it. If you do, I can guarantee you all you will have a similar experience as me. And if you do like it, it's not going to be because anything to do with Scooby-Doo or Velma or Fred or Daphne or any of the characters that you've grown to love. I honestly do not understand how and why shows like this even exist. Well, I guess I understand because they want to push an agenda. But, I mean, at this point, it's becoming blatantly obvious that they don't even care about making money. I don't even think they care about the viewership. The agenda is more important because if it wasn't, this show would never have seen the light of day. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I will talk to you all in the next video.